first special city council meeting. Gloria, show up with the leaders in the pledge.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Number 4, go ahead.
Mr. Madrid,
Here.
Mary Garcia, Gloria Rodriguez, and Jesse Gana.
Here.
Mayor, we have a call.
Go ahead.
Public hearing, item number 4, public hearing on an ordinance of the city of Socorro, Texas, adopting official forms for initiative, referendum, and recall, clarifying schedules and procedures for obtaining and submitting petitions and other matters related to.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to set the forthcoming rules to set the timetable for 30 minutes, in which case the public hearing will automatically close.
Mr. Madrid,
Yes.
Mary Garcia, Gloria Rodriguez, and Jesse Gana.
Yes.
We have, speakers.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing. Go ahead.
Open at 5:31. First speaker is Suki Ramos. Ms. Ramos, you have 3 minutes.
Mayor and Council, I would just like to say that being that this is public, open information, and how important it is that we let the community know. I was looking at the Texas Transparency on Transparency, local government transparency, see how local governments are stepping up across Texas to give taxpayers like you a transparent look at where your money goes. Who has a budget online? Who shows detailed expenses? Who is setting the standard? We're tracking just how transparent cities, county school districts, and other special districts across the state are with your hard-earned dollars. Texas Comptroller Susan Combs recommends that all local governments implement financial transparency by posting 3 key financial documents online: the annual budget, the annual financial report, and the check register. We need to bring back that trust, to know where it's supposed to be open government, and it is an accountable government. Where does our money go? You pay for your government, and you deserve to know how it spends your money. So I thank God for our Texas government that has provided us those tools. It's the same as for public information on the 2010 book. It says, dear the Attorney General of Texas, Greg Abbott, dear fellow Texans, government transparency and openness are fundamental to American democracy. In Texas, the Public Information Act, the Act is one of the primary mechanisms by which members of the public hold their government accountable. As Attorney General, I am committed to educating citizens and government officials about their rights and obligations under Texas open government laws. Our desire is to strengthen the public's trust in government by helping government officials conduct their public business responsibly and transparently. Tools such as this handbook helps us meet this obligation, and we importantly foster a government that operates by, for, and in full view of the people. Part 1, how the Public Information Act works. This historical background is the Texas Public Information Act. It was adopted in 1973 by the reform-minded 63rd legislature. The Sharpstown scandal, which occurred in 1969 and came to light in 1971, provided the motivation for several enactments opening up government to the people. Policy, B, policy construction. The preamble of the Public Information Act is codified in section 5520.001 of the Government Code. It declares the basis for the policy of open government expressed in the Public Information Act. It finds that the basis in, quote, the American constitutional form of representative government and the principle that government is a servant and not the master of the people. It further explains this principle in terms of the need for an informed citizenry. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants a right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so that they may retain control over the instruments they have created. The purpose of the Public Information Act is to maintain the people's control over the instruments they have created. The Act requires the Office of the Attorney General to construe the Act liberally in favor of open government. I do know that you were supposed to have posted this public hearing. I still say that one public hearing is not enough for our community. It's very important that they maintain informed. And if you really represent us, I would have really loved to see you post at least an 8x10 like you did when you canceled a meeting. The same thing should go for our community. Not this size, please. I cannot even read it. I can't even read it with even my reading glasses. I have to have her please make it a little bit larger. But I will tell you, there's nothing wrong with Councilwoman, District 2. I think it's important that you understand the importance. We're only asking for respect. So please don't interrupt me. I just want you to know that this is important. We are learning as citizens to learn our rights and our obligations to know when something is happening in our city, such as this ordinance. We should have had that in place a long time ago. However, I'm sorry, do not interrupt me. You're going against your own ordinance. It's very important that we know what we need to do in order to move forward as a city and as citizens, and that who we place on those seats will respect us. So I ask you that if I can inform myself within the state and the rules, and I ask for your respect as well, that you respect us and learn about it as well, as how to go about informing your citizens. Because I feel that, once again, we were not given the opportunity to place something, and that means you could have put it more than in just one place. It could have been placed like many other cities do, in different information centers, clinics, offices, you name it, the Big 8 everywhere, Walmart, to make sure that our community would have known, who do we have here? I'm sure that if they didn't see that small ad in the El Paso Times, I'm sorry, but that is so wrong. Thank you.
Ralph Duran?
The ordinance that y'all are proposing tonight is basically changing what's already in the charter. Item number, or section 7.13, form of recall petition is already in our city charter. Article 7 has initiative, referendum, and recall. It's in the charter. It doesn't need to be redone. And from what I understand, the charter cannot be superseded by any ordinance by the city. We have to go by the charter. And if the form is already there, the only way to change that form is through a charter amendment election, which has not been called for. The only thing that's been called for is an ordinance to change everything. Anytime this council doesn't like something that's going on, they put an ordinance. They didn't like that people were exercising their free speech during a meeting, so they put an ordinance. They don't like that the recall is taking longer than 45 days, so they put an ordinance. So what I'm asking you is leave things as they are. If you want to change them, do them the proper way, by ordinance, not by ordinance, but rather by election, which is what is called for. There's even case law regarding this. You have it, you have both forms. You have them in front of you. You can see that in the city charter, the form is already there. You're adding 45 days to it. So you're changing the city charter, which you cannot do. I know that you've probably been told, yeah, we can probably get away with it, but tomorrow morning, I'm going to send copies of our charter and the proposed changes to our charter to the Attorney General to get a ruling, because there was already a ruling subsequent to that, and I don't want to take everybody else's time, but opinion number JC0187 addresses this, and it says that you cannot supersede the charter by ordinance, which is what you're trying to do tonight. And by, when was it, last Thursday was the first reading, today's the second reading with a public hearing, and tonight you're going to adopt it. In other words, you're streamlining everything to your advantage. So nobody can know what's going on, and we can't even get, the proper thing would be get a legal opinion from the Attorney General whether this is correct or not. but that's not being done. It's gonna be rammed through us, you know, slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, 3 steps, and it's done. This is what this council is doing. And it's not serving the people of Socorro. You're serving yourselves. You're not giving us the opportunity to absorb what is being said. You're not giving us the opportunity to get a legal opinion about what you're doing. It's going to be done overnight. In the course of 7 days, this will already be an ordinance. I don't know of any city that I've seen that runs ordinances that fast. Other than the only reason I can see that you want to run this ordinance through us is because you don't want the citizens to know what's going on. And that's not what you were elected for. Our city has got serious problems, and we need serious people to take care of them, and this is not the right way to do things. You need to give the citizens a chance to absorb, the ones that are listening. You need to make sure what you're doing is legal. Did anybody, I don't even think anybody checked with the Attorney General to see if you can supersede our city charter by changing the language of what's already in there. Nowhere do I see 45 days, anywhere in the charter. On page 33, Article 7, nowhere in there does it say anything. But yet, you're choosing to put it in there because you don't like what's going on. So before you all vote tonight, let's see if somebody on the council has got a conscience who's going to check on this first. Let's see if you table this item to check the legality of it through the state. That's what I'd like to see. Time will tell tonight if we're gonna have responsible government or if we're gonna have government that's gonna ram everything down our throats. Thank you.
Maria Reyes.
First and foremost, District Number 4, by leaving during the council meeting last week, it is so you, unprofessional, arrogant, and of course self-serving, but I expect it from you. District Number 2, where were you when your constituents in your district asked for quality of life issues? Flooding, lights, driveways, sideways, infrastructure. You were too busy doing District Number 4's favorites, appointing his dad's friend to city manager, $47,000 raise, replacing 8-year recreation director with Vin Lopez at $40,000, 0 experience, giving all 220 driveways to District Number 4 instead of to the most needed in your district, replacing 4-year judge with District Number 4's friend with $20,000 raise and benefits, 0 experience, giving your vote to buy 7 acres for $1.6 million. Do you know what $1.6 million will do for your district and the rest of the city? And now you know we are close to recalling you and the others, aware to the point that you are going door to door, trying to garner votes and promising lights. Lights anywhere and everywhere. Too little, too late. Also, city manager, if we had such a surplus, why did you try to get a loan from the school district for $1 million? And this, you were turned down. Furthermore, other issues, by opening the bridge at Passmore, you acted recklessly and with disregard to the safety of the public, the same public you are supposed to be representing. Shame on you.
Sergio Jaime.
En mi sentido, yo para mi ver ahorita que están haciendo ese cambio, quieren cambiar la constitución, ¿verdad? Crear nuevas leyes. Para mí no está bien, es que debemos de contar también con la ciudadanía, no nomás el Congreso que se quiere hacer lo que ustedes quieren hacer. No están respetando a la ciudadanía respecto a esa constitución, ¿verdad? Están violando los derechos de nosotros. En cada momento hacen ustedes lo que a ustedes les parece, a favor de ustedes. En cuanto a eso, pues para eso nosotros nos pusimos aquí, para que hicieran algo por nosotros, pero resulta que aquí todo va al revés. Es un sentir de la ciudadanía y luego que no ponen las citas, no programan nada para la gente para que se dé cuenta. Por eso estamos aquí tan solos, porque todos lo hacen a escondidas y eso no está bien. Nosotros necesitamos que la gente, la ciudadanía se dé cuenta a través de un anuncio o internet, pero no lo ponen, cambian los horarios y todo eso, y eso para mí es falta de respeto a la ciudadanía. Por eso es que es un sentir mío que no está bien lo que están haciendo, porque así como los pusimos, así también los podemos quitar. Nada es eterno aquí, esto es de pasada todos, así que por favor, yo les digo que consideren eso y traten de trabajar como debe de ser y no nomás cambiando leyes, hagan lo que tienen que hacer a la ciudadanía, las banquetas, los pavimentos y todo lo demás que se necesita. No trabajen nomás haciendo leyes, inviertan el dinero que nosotros ponemos para que haya una ciudad digna de vivir.
Does anybody else wish to speak on this item?
My name is Sergio Cox. I'm a former councilman of the city of Socorro. As I have stated, I have been here as a former city councilman. I did 2 terms for 4 years. In those 4 years, several issues came up in which we wanted to change some of what the city charter had to say. We wanted to change some of the stipulations of such as the rule of 3. We wanted to change other issues that we were not allowed to. We were not allowed to because we had to form a committee before and look at and study issues so that we can make amendments to the city charter. Twice in those 2 years' terms, I asked our city attorney at the time, Mr. Wallace, I asked him to give us a ruling on changing the reading and the writing of a city charter issue. And he informed us not once but twice that an ordinance cannot and will not supersede, by law, cannot supersede the city charter and its rules. Cannot do it. This is the same advice that came from Mr. Wallace, our city attorney at the time, and why this is why it's happening now, I don't understand. It doesn't matter that you put in the hearing that it's going to be adopting official forms for initiatives, referendums, and recall. That's already addressed in the city charter. Clarifying schedules and procedures. Clarifying means nothing more than to change something. You're changing what's already addressed in the city charter, and you can't do it. You have to have a meeting, a committee. The committee that I formed when we did 4 amendments to the city charter were Arnulfo Salazar, Alma Fuentes, myself, Mr. Joe DeToro, and one other individual, I can't remember his name right now at this time, but we formed a committee to address how we wanted to make the amendments in the city charter. We followed the law. The wording and clarification and all this other stuff, all that means nothing more than just wanting to make a change that you have to take to the voters. So, I know that you guys are pushing for this. I also see that it says here a second reading or adaptation of the ordinance. What happened in the past practice? The past practice was that we would call for the public hearing. We would have a 2-week for the first hearing, and then we'd have another 2 weeks between the first hearing and the second hearing. What happened there? Why has everything changed now where you have a second reading on the very same day that you're having the public hearing as on the first reading? That also is wrong. You have been misinformed and you have been misled, as I stated before. These changes that are being asked of you, and you guys complying with this, is wrong. I don't care how learned the individual is that's telling you you can do this. I'm sorry, it's addressed in the Texas Criminal Code and law and the government code. It's addressed there. It's in black and white. I guess the only thing is if you pass this thing through, I guess you're going to have to spend some more money because you're going to have to defend this issue here because it will get challenged. And it's going to be money that's going to cost the citizens support, the taxpayers and so forth all over again because you guys are erroneously pushing an issue that you can't do. Once again, I will ask you and I will tell you to understand, you cannot supersede the city charter with an ordinance. This attorney here that advises you now was the same attorney that advised us then when I was sitting in that chair right there. Not only did I ask it, but also Mayor Trini Lopez, who was standing there. And he made it, when he said it, and I'm going to refresh Mr. Wallace's memory, because he tried to say, can an ordinance supersede the city charter? But instead, he said, can an ordinance supersede an ordinance? And of course, Mr. Wallace had no choice but to say, yes, it can. Because he was talking about the city charter itself, and then he corrected himself later on. He said, I mean the city charter. Knowing full well that I had already asked that 2 or 3 meetings before. So, be careful. Please be careful. You're supposed to be leaders of this community. You're supposed to be looking out for the taxpayers. You're supposed to be looking out for us. You went door to door, knocking on the doors, telling people that you were going to make changes, better changes than what was going on back then. I'm sorry, but it's been nothing but trouble ever since. Something wrong. You guys are not being informed correctly, or you're taking the wrong path. You need to get back up. You need to back up. You need to take a good, long, hard look at what's going on right now, what's happening right now, and where you've been taken. Okay? While I'm talking about that, let me tell you about the misleading portion of it also. I have gone out to District 4, and in the area of Chota Chisholm Trail and other areas, there are driveways going up that are not part of that list of 220 driveways that are on there. They're going up. They've been put in place. I asked those people. They said, no, we didn't pay for it. We went and complained about it. We got put on the list, and now we got a driveway, even though they were not on that original 220 list that you guys approved, that you other district members gave up so that he could have that in his district. Okay? It's being abused. How you guys are training for this, I don't know. What you guys are doing, I don't know. But you have a watchdog. You have a watchdog group. You have me as a watchdog. I'm telling you guys. You just get your act together. That's all I have to say. Again, thank you.
Any other speakers? No more speakers. Close that.
Hold on, before I continue. Jerry, I've been hearing these people about the ordinance or the charter superseding the ordinance or the ordinance. What's the ruling on that?
Now's not the time when we get into the actual resolution of the item. Right now it's public hearing, which will be public hearing.
I'm going to go ahead and close this public hearing.
Close at 152.
Now, turn the same question.
The,
We are on item 6. Excuse me.
didn't want to read further?
Or item,
Or item
number 5. Regular agenda item number 5, discussion and action on approval for the proposed interlocal participation agreement between the local government purchasing cooperative and the city of Socorro, Texas.
Motion to approve. You can get it.
We do have a motion made by Jesse Gantara, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez, and this is to approve item number 5. Mr. Madrid?
Yes.
Mary Garcia?
Yes.
Gloria Rodriguez? And Jesse Gantara?
Yes.
Item number 6, second reading and adoption on an ordinance of the city of Socorro, Texas, adopting official forms of initiative, referendum, and recall, clarifying schedules and procedures for obtaining and submitting petitions and other matters related to.
Go ahead.
Mayor, the city council does not have the authority to change or amend the city charter by ordinance. It's very clear. State law in that regard is very clear. The city council cannot amend the city charter by ordinance, even if the city charter authorizes the city council to amend the city charter by ordinance, because there is a state law that prescribes the process by which you amend the city charter. That being said, Socorro City Charter within itself authorizes the city council to do anything by ordinance which is not in conflict with the city charter. The ordinance that you have before you sets out the various sections of the city charter that deal with initiative, referendum, and recall. Section 7.2 is the section that provides for the referendum process, and the city charter also provides that the forms for this are to be provided by the city clerk. There are no forms, there are no petitions in the city charter. There are parts of affidavits that would go into the form that are prescribed by the city charter, but there are no petition forms in the city charter anywhere. There is a lot of information in the city charter about how to put those forms together, a considerable amount of it in conflict with itself. And one of the things that this is designed to do is to hopefully bring some clarification to that process. One of the issues in Section 3 is the referendum. The city charter requires somebody that's submitting a referendum petition to swear that the signatures are no more than 45 days old. But the city charter also says that if the signatures are more than 30 days old, that the petition is void. It is highly misleading to somebody that's circulating the petition to make them swear that the signatures are no more than 45 days old, and then they hand them into the city clerk and they find out their entire petition's void because it should have been handed in 15 days early. We can't change that language in the city charter by ordinance. That's clear. But you do have the authority by the city charters to do the things that the city charter does not speak to. What this is an attempt to do is to lay out some specific forms that helps this process. Now, I will readily admit that these forms are cumbersome. They've got a lot of information on them. And the way that you've got to put them together, and because of the regulations in the city charter, you can only get 2 signatures on each form. But everything on here is required by the city charter. The individual is required to print their name, they're required to provide their street address, they're required. The only thing on here that's not required is the phone number. And it seemed to be good to add the phone number in case there was some question about something, so the city clerk would know how to find this person in the process of reviewing the petitions. Their date of birth has to be on here, their precinct number and name has to be on here, their voter registration serial number has to be on here. All of that's required in the city charter. So this is not something that is in conflict with the city charter. It is something that is consistent with it. You will note that the affidavits for the initiative petition certify that the signatures are no more than 45 days old. The same affidavit is on the referendum petition. The reason that form of affidavit is there is because the city charter prescribes that form. Even though, if those signatures are more than 30 days old, they're worthless anyway because the city charter also says that if they're more than 30 days old, the petition's void. I'll be glad to answer any specific questions. But that basically, and what we try to do in sections 2 and 3 and 4, is to lay out in somewhat of an understandable process, at least the process of getting the petition to the city clerk. Unfortunately, the city charter has conflicts as to how it's handled once it's sent to the city clerk, and the timelines when things are supposed to be done and that type of thing. Again, that's not something you can correct by ordinance. So I'll be glad to answer any specific questions, but that's basically what it does.
I looked over it, and I like to, there's a few little, some of it is to clean up the ordinance. We can get your ordinances out. So I'll make a motion to approve the following corrections. On page 3 or 4, where it begins the first whereas. Whereas it is the desire of the city council to clarify, and then the deletion of the clarified procedures and deletion of the. So read, whereas it is the desire of the city council to clarify procedures and schedule for obtaining and submitting petitions and other documents associated with the initiative referendum recall. So we're deleting 2 buds there. On section 2, it'll read initiative petitions as a header, and then it'll go into the following language that's already there. A petitioner's committee must be formed and file an affidavit to the city clerk prior to certification, and then the addition of the word initiative, capital A for petitions. Skip the following sentence onto the next one where it says all petitions shall be on forms supplied and release upon written request with the addition of the petitioners committee. And then farther on, skipping the next sentence, after it says, I'm going to read it, all executed petitions shall be returned and filed with the city clerk within 45 days of the date on which the initial petitions are signed and released by the city clerk or the city clerk's designee as specified herein. The addition of the executed petitions must be accompanied by affidavit of the person filing the petition that the petition bears a stated number of signatures, and that the signatures are genuine signatures of the person whose name they claim to be. As the petitions released prior to adoption of this ordinance, timeline shall start from the date this ordinance is adopted. Going on to section 3, it'll begin with referendum petitions as a title, and then they'll go into the reading. A petitioner's committee must be formed, and file an affidavit with the city clerk prior to circulating petitions. Skipping the sentence to all petitions shall be on form supplied and released upon written request of the petitioner's committee shall be added. Skipping to page 404, at the second complete sentence, it says the executed petitions must be accompanied by affidavit of, in the addition of the word the person, so we're adding the word the. Moving on to section 4, it'll have the title of recall petitions. Skipping to the second sentence, it shall be, all petitions shall be on form supplied and released upon written request of the petitioner's committee. That'll be added, those 4 words. Skipping right before the last sentence on section 4, the addition of this sentence, as to petitions released prior to adoption of this ordinance, timeline shall start from the date this ordinance is adopted. And going down to the very bottom, where it says duly passed and approved this 27th day of January 2011. And that's my motion. I'd also like to clarify for City Council. We hear a lot of information. I mean, everybody gets up here and says, we've done this and we've done that. And I mean, I could spend all day just picking out where all the lies are in all those statements. It's a shame one of them left, because I was going to address one of the statements they said where they looked at this council and they said, you need to do what's right, you need to do what we've done in the past. We've never done a public hearing and a second reading at the same time. And that was by the former city council member. I want to remind him that on April 1st, 2010, and I'll bring that up. On April 1st, 2010, the City Council met for a public hearing on Amendment Number 4 to Ordinance 131, an ordinance entitled Historic Landmark Preservation for the City of Socorro, Texas, sponsored by Sedco Cox. That was agenda item number 5 on the April 1st, 2010 meeting. And on agenda item number 9 of April 1st, 2010, second reading and adoption of Amendment Number 4 to Ordinance 131, an ordinance entitled Historic Landmark Preservation for the City of Socorro, Texas, sponsored by Sedco Cox. It was passed on a 3-0 vote, with myself being absent at that meeting. So again, when they stand up here, and I mean just time after time, it's lies after lies. And he told us, you need to do what this city council has done previously. We have never held a public hearing and second reading adoption on the same day. And here I just claim facts where obviously on April 1st, 2010, on his own items that he sponsored. So I'm going to go back to, you know, how do you fight liars? But, you know, you can, unfortunately. You can only bring up facts, and hopefully it doesn't fall on deaf ears. So, again, that's my motion.
Mr. Madrid?
Yes.
Mary Garcia? Yes. Gloria Rodriguez? Yes. And Jesse Gandara.
Yes.
Item number 7, excuse absent council members.
Motion to delete?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Council, I'd like to make 2 quick comments. First of all, I did visit with the school district relative to our sidewalk project. And had a good discussion with superintendent, lawyer, and his executive officials. And they asked me to submit in writing what the city's request was. Subsequent to that, we learned from TxDOT that all the financial arrangements and letting of the contract for the contractor to build those sidewalks is going to be handled by TxDOT. And they were going to manage all the cash flow that needs to occur relative to those 8 school projects to get their sidewalks here in the future. So my main point of clarification is the city was not turned down. It was unnecessary. Thank you.
We do have a motion made by Jesse Gandara, seconded by Gloria Rodriguez to delete item number 7. Mr. Madrid?
Yes.
Mary Garcia? Yes. Gloria Rodriguez? Yes. And Jesse Gandara.
Yes.
Do we have a motion for executive session?
You have executive items?
Yes.
Second?
We do have a motion made by Gloria Rodriguez, seconded by Jesse Gandara, and this is to move into executive session. Mr. Madrid?
Yes.
Mary Garcia? Yes. Gloria Rodriguez? Yes. And Jesse Gandara.
Yes.